All right, thank you. So we have lots of different regions and nationalities here with us today on the panel. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk today about advocacy. I lead the partnership side at Traackr, but many people know me because I spend a lot of time with all our clients here in Europe. And when we talk about advocacy, we like to define advocacy as brand love. And brand love is really, I think, what gave rise to the whole topic of creator marketing or influencer marketing. But I'd like to give an opportunity for each of our panelists, maybe first to introduce themselves and tell us what is their definition of advocacy. Geoffrey, do you want to start?
Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. I would say that for us, regarding the different activities, tires for cars, tires for trucks, the Michelin guide, all this kind of stuff. The advocacy for us is when somebody is able to embody your brand, embody your values, fit really well with your messages and what you want to bring to your audiences and your customer segmentation. And it make the brand obvious for everyone is looking in the content creation. That's our point of view.
And Geoffrey, tell us as well a little bit about what you do, because it's interesting. We have lots of different industries here, but tell us in 2 words, what is advocacy at Michelin?
Advocacy at Michelin, and when you feel like you're a member of Michelin. It's like that.
So for me, already, thank you so much for welcoming us today on stage. I have my idol here on the right-hand side, because I have a story about Michelin that was the first actually company to do advocacy in the world. 1901, it rings a bell, the Michelin guide? It was done based on passion, so what you said about brand values and brand DNA, and this is exactly what we try to replicate at Coty, so thank you so much, you're inspiring us.
You're welcome.
Then later at the break, I can tell you the story, the full story about that, or you can. So for us in Coty, advocacy is bringing the values of our brands together in order to reach our stakeholders. So it will be consumers, it will be influencers, it will be everybody, even our retailers, and embrace these kind of values and brand DNA that we have to generate positive conversations. Okay, so the aim is that we have fans of our brands, whether they are retailers, consumers, influencers, that can embrace our brands and put positive words out there. Okay, and the question that you did. So what is advocacy at Coty? It's not just influencer marketing, it's community management. The first thing you need to do is to reply to the people that already love you, right? If you don't reply, then they leave. It's like in life, huh? So, then ratings and reviews. In beauty, it's important to have experts and authentic voices speaking about your brands and your products. You have events, you have PR, so traditional PR is part of that, and you have what we call natural advocacy that we're going to speak about in a minute.
And Luca, for those who might not know, can you name the top brands that you guys lead at Coty?
Yes, Gucci Beauty, Burberry Beauty, Chloe Beauty, Adidas Beauty, CoverGirl, Rimmel, Hugo Boss, Calvin Klein. So a lot of them. We have other ones, but too many. 40 brands.
Thank you, Luca. Santiago from Mallorca. What is?
Thanks for having me. It's sunnier here than it's in Mallorca, by the way. I'm Santiago Garcia Solimay. I am responsible globally for social media, influencer marketing, and public relations at Melia Hotels International. For those that don't know, Melia is Spain's largest hotel company with 500 and so properties in 30 countries, so global operation. In hospitality for us, trying to define what advocacy is really to create compelling stories that will impact you on your passions, that will motivate you to travel, but to choose our hotels as opposed to many others, and really to choose us over and over again and find new destinations, but to really become a fan of our 9 brands, no? Because these brands really match the way you live, your feelings, your culture, and the reason for you to travel. We're traveling with purpose, we're traveling with meaning, and we are consuming not hotel beds, but experiences. So really it's to create, a large community of consumers that have our brands in the top of the mind, which is really difficult given the competitive nature of our industry.
Thank you. And Justine, so what is the YouTube perspective on advocacy? Tell us what you do at YouTube first.
A bit different perspective as, so hi everyone. I'm part of what we call the content partnerships team. So my team is basically in charge of supporting the biggest content creators here in France. Would they be labels, music artists, broadcasters, traditional medias, but obviously as well like what we call YouTubers, content creators. So my role is to work with those creators and talk to them every day. And as I talk to those YouTube creators every day, advocacy speaks a lot to me, and I would define it, but because I'm on this content side, more as, this amazing trust that the creators are able to build by engaging with their audience. And for me, advocacy is just like leveraging this trust, hopefully for good, and how brands are also able to leverage this trust that creators have built. And we know that on YouTube, the audience trusts a lot the creators, the content creators. We've been measured by Kantar on that. They say that more than 77% of the audience on YouTube think that YouTube content, creators' content is trustworthy. So it's really powerful for advocacy.
Thank you. And I think what is super interesting about the panel today, and we are very proud to have very different industries with us, with very different customer journeys. I think Melia will generate, 47% of your revenues online, directly on your website. Michelin, Geoffrey was saying, we don't sell direct to consumers, so completely different journey. So when I look at, and prior to, while I was preparing for this panel, I look at our benchmark report. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but we at Traackr, we have this market level benchmark where we try to understand the performance of the whole creator market and benchmark all the different brands and try to understand how the behavior of the creators is evolving brand by brand. And I looked at it over the last 3 to 4 years, and it was fascinating to see how the market is increasingly moving towards a paid market. To the point that in 2024, 50% of the market was paid. So I think, and that really raises the question of, where is brand love going? Is brand love disappearing? Is brand love becoming paid love? Or what's happening here? But we also know that from the brand perspective, whilst paid, give you the capacity to reach new audiences and to processize, love remains one of the fundamentals. So I'd like to hear from you guys great examples from some organic campaigns that really have generated impact for your organization. Santi, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, sure. Listen, in our space and in our industry, it's a reality that influencer marketing fees are skyrocketing, particularly in places like the US. Influencers and creators are charging more and more. We're also fighting against the algorithms that make it very hard for our content to stand out. So what we are really doing is creating mainstream events. So for example, we wanted to give awareness to one of our properties in the Dominican Republic. And we had a concrete storytelling, but eventually one of Spain's largest influencers, Maria Pombo, I don't know if you know her in France, but we have had a long-standing organic relationship with her. We've looked after her. She sleeps on a Melia bed at her home, and it's been a hard work to cooperate with her. She was celebrating her birthday, and we decided to invite her. She was turning 30, so she traveled with 25 of her friends to the Dominican Republic, and we hosted like numerous parties and dinners and DJ events. So we created an amazing experience just for her, obviously paying for everything. And she and her friends actually in real time started to showing what that felt like. And it was a real experience that we do for any of our guests, obviously taken to the roof because of the profile of this person. So we did excursions and trips and boat trips and anything you can imagine. Her combined audience, the combined audience between her and her friends was nearly 18 million followers. That content generated nearly 20,000 engagements, more than 6 million impressions. Her birthday was, believe it or not, it was on the news. It was on lifestyle magazines. Everyone starts talking about our resort. We need to give awareness to this resort from the Spanish market, and our traffic to the resort, to the hotel page grew over 125% just at the week that her birthday was on. So this was a way to, organically direct a lot of attention to this property with content that was, believed and trustworthy to audiences. So a lot of people started booking that same hotel and started, directing their attention to this property.
Yeah, and what is interesting here as well, you were saying that this is also the outcome of a very long-term relationship that you guys have been growing with Melia.
I mean, to work with her in a paid manner, she will charge us an amount that we could never be able to afford it. So now she's come to one of our hotels in London, and it's like, whenever there's an opportunity and there's a hotel in the destination she wants to go, we obviously host a top-level experience, and it's all paid by us, but we're not paying her fees. And really, whatever she touches, it's amazing the repercussion that her content has. It's spanning beyond social media, as I said, to magazines, to radio shows, to newspapers. So we're getting a lot of awareness particularly with this profile, and we're trying to continue maintaining this long-standing relationship as much as we can in an organic manner.
And you were saying you were sharing with me that other creators are now contacting you.
It's creating a
there's
FOMO,
a halo effect, right?
It's creating a FOMO effect where other creators are feeling jealous because we have catered for that experience for her, and they want a similar experience. So they are actually coming organically to us, asking for a collaboration without fees. So, yeah, it's really impressive.
Thank you. Luca, I think you have some great examples as well.
I think we have something similar, right? So it's what we call at Coty natural advocacy. So what we do is actually discovering natural advocates, so people that are already speaking about our brands, because at the base we have love brands, right? So like Gucci, Marc Jacobs, Chloe, etc. We discovered those content through social listening, right? And then we contact those people that are posting organically, 100%, about our brands. So we have a couple of cases here that are similar but really different in the kind of creators. So the first one is on our brand CoverGirl in the US. Back 2 years ago, we had a post that did something like 2.5 million views on TikTok in one night. So coming from a creator of 12,000 followers. So a really small creator that had this great content about our product. There was one of our best sellers, but back in time. So it was 20 years on the market. And we saw a real spike in attention towards that product and, of course, on sales. And what we did was contacting straight away the creator, right? So telling her, look, this is a great content. Can we boost it? Can we boost it with some paid media? So she accepted, and it created a viral effect, not only on her post, but also other creators doing the same thing that she did. So this is one example on one micro creator. The other, so the opposite, is another creator that has 12 million followers this time. She posted organically about one of our fragrances, Marc Jacobs, Daisy. And we discovered that straight away, that content was not paid. So it was purely organic because she loved the brand. So again, we contacted her and we put in, the machine and the process that we have for this kind of situation. And she basically let us, do some paid media behind for a super small fee. and it resulted again in a lot of brand love plus sales. So this is what I call the power of natural advocacy, but you need to discover it. If you don't have a social listening system behind, you cannot discover everything.
Thank you, Luca. And Justine, so YouTube is where creators were born, a little bit, we could say. YouTube tutorials, I think in beauty have been a big thing. So do you have examples of recent great organic content that have impacted create some impact for brands? On
Yeah,
YouTube?
of course, too many to count, but one that really stick to my mind is, if you're based in Paris, I'm sure you know McFly and Carlito, like some two really top creators. And last year, they just, for free, they spoke about a brand of crisp called Bretz, maybe 1 or 2 times on their video, because they are doing degustation challenges. And we heard that the brand got like more than 25% increase of sales just in 2024. So it really shows how powerful influence can be. But it also shows something, is that I think it's also a challenge to anticipate for a brand, the result. And as brands, as platforms, as solutions, and as agencies, I think we are getting better at anticipating influence results. But also, Luca, you mentioned how the mix between paid and influence is really successful, and I really believe that to lower the risk, this anticipation risk, and also to scale those type of influence collabs, it's really important to do a mix and to combine to scale the influence. And L'Oréal is doing this really great. They also leveraged last year McFly and Carlito in an event that was called Pétanque Explorer. So they sponsored the content really well. They sponsored the whole event that was also happening physically, and they told us that it was in 24th day most engaging campaign, reaching like more than 1/3 of the French population. So I think it's great to have influence. If you can have it for free because you're in brand love, great for you. But to anticipate, to have the hand on it and to scale it, having this really intelligent mix between influence and paid media to scale is also a great solution. And obviously we are YouTube, so we couldn't talk about a mix between influence and paid.
Thank you. And Geoffrey, when you sell tires, how do you create organic advocacy?
The thing is that when we talk about tires, we talk about a product that I think nobody dream about tires. Nobody enjoy to go out and say, hey, I am going to buy my new tires. That we are not in this kind of market. So, and we have another problem is that when we look at the tire market, we are the most expensive brand. And for everyone, tires is just big black things, and it's a pain point to buy it. And why I am going to pay more to have Michelin tires? I can buy another tire for maybe twice less than the Michelin tires. So we really have to work on the willingness to pay, and that's why we need to use this advocacy and this brand love, because if we say that in the Michelin tires you have plus 20% of mileage or this kind of stuff, that's okay, but it's the brand which is going to say to tell it. When we work with creators, when we reach to have a real advocacy with the brand, when they talk about the tires, it's more like good friends is giving you tips and good advice about tires, and say, okay, from my point of view, I will put the tires on my car. To justify this willingness to pay and the benefits, we are really focused on the innovation. It's the most important thing in the Michelin group, for the guide, for the tires, for everything. And all the tires manufacturers tell the same thing. We are the most innovative one. We have a good grip, etc. So at the end of 2023, we try to make something out of the box and highlighting our innovation power to reinforce the willingness to pay using a gaming event. It was the Gran Turismo World Series World Finals in Barcelona in December 2023. And the thing is that we worked with Gran Turismo to develop with them the tire strategy inside the game, and all the sim racers had to master the tire strategy if they want to win the race. It's not the driving skills which are going to make the difference, it's really the tire strategy. And so we did an activations with creators. It was Hannah Honner from France, Marco Marchettino from Italy, on these kind of creators. And we decided to choose some creators relevant with our audiences, with our customer segmentation, to bring them in our headquarters, discover our journey, our path through innovation, and why a Michelin tire costs a lot, because it's a compendium of innovation. Then we did a road trip to stay connected with our market, with some incredible cars. We include Michelin restaurant, etc. Great experience. And we arrived at Barcelona, and it was the moment where we demonstrate that we are able to innovate beyond the road, beyond reality, and we are the only brand able to do that, because the Gran Turismo World Series is the only sim racing series where you have this tire strategy. So when we look at the results, we saw that people, the followers of the different creators, not exposed to the content, are okay to pay more to...
This is really interesting. But I just want to pause here, because this is interesting. This is the way that you measure the impact of that activity.
Yeah. I decided for this event to don't stay close to only the quantitative results. We had good quantitative results. We have a cost per engagement under 9 cents, all this kind of stuff. That was really, really great. Same ROI than if we did the same thing on the 24 hours Le Mans, so pretty good things. But what I really want is to go further than that, to measure the impact on the audiences and on our customer segmentation. Do we have an impact on the willingness to pay? And we saw that if people are not exposed to this content, they are okay to pay more to enjoy the benefits of Michelin tires. We have 1/3 people okay with that. For the people who were exposed to the content, we switched from 1/3 to 3/4. We are okay to pay more to enjoy the Michelin products. And that's something you can go to your marketing team when you have, we all have the same questions like, okay, why are we going to pay for an event? Or it's just to bring some influencers in holidays. No, it's not that. When we do that, we reinforce the willingness to pay, and it's through advocacy, because it's obvious and it fits really well with the audiences, that you create this feeling of intimacy with them.
Yeah. I think this is super interesting, because what we have here is 3 organizations that work on premium brands, premium hospitality, premium beauty, premium tires, and how advocacy is meaningful only if it really contributes to building the brand value. But what I really like about the example that you share, Geoffrey, is that you were able in this instance to actually measure the impact of this content, of these creators on your brand by brand lift studies. And I think that's really interesting. Now, what I'm also hearing is that, we're talking about some very spectacular events here, some that you don't do every day for everyone. I'm hearing about, finding love content through listening. But the question is, okay, how do we turn that into a more scalable process? Because if you really want to create impact for these large brands at scale, how do you do that? When I was looking away again at our report, what I was seeing is that the number of organic mentions of brands from creators is actually decreasing year on year. So the overall number of brand mentions increases, but that's really driven by paid. The organic mentions are actually going down. So maybe there's a little bit of regulation that is happening here. But what I'm also hearing from a lot of our customers is that it's really become a priority to maintain the right mix between the paid and the organic. And you cannot move completely organic. And it's interesting to see as well, different brands have very different performance. I looked at the brand that have the biggest performance in beauty and organic, and most of them are celebrity brands, which is interesting. So there's definitely here a connection with a personality that creates that love. But I'd like to understand from your experience, from what you're trying to do, how do you take those examples that you share to a scalable process? Luca, do you want to start on this?
Yes. So I think our magic recipe for that is 3 things, and I'm going to give you then an example. 3 or 4 things. I cannot remember, but that's okay. I think being data-driven. That's why we are partnering with you guys to have a solid data-driven approach, and not only with Traackr, but with also other providers. So knowing your consumers, knowing your brand DNA, knowing what your audience wants to see is helping you creating as well better products. Advocacy for us starts with products, okay? So we are manufacturer of products. We're not just communicating to people. So starting with the right products for the right audience is helping you out then to have positive buzz around the products. Also data-driven, because we are going into our tools and having a look at what competition is doing, having a look at what the benchmark on the market is, and having a look at what is our target and our objective. Then, of course, data-driven as well to monitor the campaign, but that's going after. Number 2, balancing quantity versus quality. I think that if you have the right quantity of influencer and creators activated, but you have no quality on the content that the briefs that you send over and the content that you receive, it's a little bit an effort that is not really paying off. So balancing the 2 aspects of that and, saying, okay, I put more budget into quality and into the upper pyramid or lower pyramid and a little bit less on quantity, or the other way around. Number 3 is going to be, I cannot remember. Yes, I remember it, okay. It's going to be the balancing between brand image and the upper funnel and, let's say, the straight KPIs for conversion, right? So we are always looking for a little bit of conversion, but we don't have to forget that we are brand love, that we need brand love, and that we are love brands. So we need to also make sure that the brand image is safe. And for that, we choose creators that are in line with the brand DNA.
And I think one thing that I think you share, Luca, as well, is to say, we can get a lot of organic content from smaller creators, but unfortunately, and when you look at the pyramid structure, these smaller creators, you can have many of them that don't create the reach that you need. Yeah. So this is where, and maybe that's in connection to what Justin was sharing earlier, is how do you leverage that organic content and maybe add the touch of mediatization on top of it.
Yeah, and that's a 4 point, basically, so thank you for reminding me. The 4 point is balancing the investment, the right investment in between the organic piece and the paid piece. Of course, we have a process internally to monitor what happens, so also through Traackr, and select the right content to be boosted with paid media. And it could be a mix of all the pyramid. It doesn't mean that we have a mega creator that we need to definitely just go for paid on that one, but we can also do some sponsored content in the lower part of the pyramid. So this is the 4 points that we use, as we use as an example on a new launch. There was Adidas Vibes that we launched last year around May. And it was working because we had the 4 recipe, and on top of that, we had the right product for the right audience at the right moment. And it worked really well. So we saw in all of the results on VIT, on EMV, on Traackr, but also on the pure sellout, right? So the pure numbers that we saw, not just for influencer marketing, of course. We had media, we had other activations, but it was a big, successful campaign working on a 360 degrees level. It doesn't mean, so if you do good influencer marketing or good advocacy and you don't use all of the other levers and you don't have the right product, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's really from all the product creation all the way to how you put it to market. One thing that I'm still, I like numbers, so I just looked at those little numbers. And what I notice is that the brands that are the best on advocacy are also the brand that have the highest retention of creators, which seems logical because once you find someone that loves you, how do you create and maintain that relationship over time as opposed to trying to find new people all the time? So it's really about building that over time. Justin, I know that you had some good example of brands that have been creating that advocacy through long-term relationships with YouTube creators.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to come back to your point on, we see more and more brands mentioned, but it's more and more paid. I think it's also due to the fact that, being a creator is now recognized as a real job, and it was not really the case 10 years ago, and creators themselves were not so aware that they could price and that producing content actually has a value, as it has always been the case on traditional media. So yes, today being a content creator, it's a job. Producing content has a high value, so it should be paid. I mean, the content production is also as, the value of content production is higher and higher on YouTube. You have super long format that obviously cost extremely expensive to create, but you also have short form that are less expensive, so we have both. But to this point, I think it's, yes, the regulation that asks creators to mention that it's a paid collaboration, but it's also because the market is getting more and more structured and the creators are less and less happy to say yes to something free because they just need to produce their content, and this needs to be fueled by money. To the scale, we talked about it already because I mentioned paid, but to your point on how to get a long-term relationship with creators, I think one group is doing it really well, LVMH with Louis Vuitton. They've been really good at, creating a pool of creators that they follow months after months, years after years, and to engage them on everything they could do. So inviting them to shows, putting them in front of the camera on their YouTube channel, which generates actually way more engagement than their usual content. So how can you include, as you mentioned, the creators in everything that you can do through the brand is really powerful. And obviously, if you're a love brand and your product is really sexy, it helps. But just having this long-term relationship is obviously really key because it builds trust, as we mentioned, and trust helps creators to advocate.
Yes, but long-term relationships are an effort, so they don't come. And
you mentioned maybe it can generate content for free, but it's never free. All the time that you spend, your team spend, creating those links, and as we do at YouTube, creating those links, those connections, talking to them almost every day, it costs the company. It's not something that you pay, but it's something that the company is paying in the end. So I don't really believe in free content today.
True. And Rovere, one interesting way to scale love is to look at new types of formats, new communities. So if you were just talking to tires enthusiasts, I think you would struggle to scale your program. But I found it extremely interesting that you really expanded very strongly into Twitch. We don't talk a lot about Twitch, but it's interesting how you guys have been leveraging Twitch as the platform as well, how you've expanded significantly into gaming. So how did you get there?
It's linked with one of the points from Luca. It's really important to have the right product in front of the right audience and the right segmentation. And it can be the same also for the brand messages and the brand purpose you want to put in front of the consumers. You talked about Twitch. It's something we tried last year for the 24 Hours Le Mans. We tried to imagine a new way to engage the customers and to create this brand love to an audience not at all fan of motorsport, not at all fan of cars, not at all fan of tires. And when we have a look in our customer segmentation, we saw that one of the main interests for our customer segmentation is gaming, esports. So what we decided to do is to organize live Twitch with a French creator at the 24 Hours Le Mans, with a creator which is not at all creating content about sim racing, car games. It was a multi-gaming streamer. It's Ligaya, for those who know her. And we create with her the storytelling.
So she's a streamer on what you said?
On Twitch.
On
Twitch.
Yes, but on which topic does she?
Multi-gaming. So
multi-gaming.
Yeah, she plays League of Legends, Valorant, all those kind of games. No tires, no cars. And we create a storytelling with her to discover the 24 Hours Le Mans. And then we switch to a live Twitch where she discovered why motorsport is something really important for Michelin, because for us, our positioning and our purpose about motorsport is an accelerator of innovation. We are not here to win the race. We are not here to break records. We are here in motorsport to develop new things for the mobility of everyone. And we wanted to highlight that with some of our demonstrators. It's tires with renewable and recycled materials for motorsport. And the problem is the demonstrator are EV cars or hydrogen cars. And I am convinced that if we do the same content with fans of motorsport, we will have comments like, EV is boring, hydrogen is not motorsport, we like when there is sounds. And so I wanted to avoid that. And that's why it's topics which made sense to the audience of people not at all interested in cars. So it was a really good surprise for the audience to discover the creator they follow in a totally new environment, discovering new things and discovering that, okay, it's just not 60 cars turning on a track, it's like a big R&D center. And what we saw is that with this kind of content, we have the same level of performance than if she was creating multi-gaming content. And the good thing was that we reached the peak viewers earlier than on the multi-gaming content she did. And the pretty good thing is that we have 100% of positive comments on our commitment in motorsport and what we develop in motorsport. So it's a really great experience. And it's a way to create brand love with the not at all engaged audience at the beginning.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And I really like the way you framed it, starting from customer segmentation to look for new ways to address your audiences. So really breaking the traditional framework that we can use.
We had the discussion with Luca. It's something we are all concerned about. All our colleagues in regions and territories, when they have to engage locally, they are really close on only the product, and sometimes they don't have a look on the customer segmentation. So they want to create something fun and something which create engagement about the product, but they don't think about, and it was also a point of Luca, the qualitative part of the content and what are the messages we want to bring. If you stay close to your customer segmentation, if you stay close to the messages, the RTBs of the product, and you create the content around that, and only then you try to find the right creators to push that, you will be in the right way. If you start by thinking on the creators and then you adapt what you want to provide, it will be only something fun. Hey, that's great. I'm invited by this brand. It's really cool. Thank you. #nana. But that's not create a pushy messaging and an engaging message to the audience.
Thank you. And Santi, to finish before we move to Q&A, from the Melia perspective, 9 brands, 500 properties, customers from Spain, US, France. How do you organize this sort of global to local organization so that you maximize the content creation, so that you stay relevant with the overall sort of brand values and the overall storytelling? And I know that the hospitality is special because you have a lot of creators that actually contact you directly. So hey, I'm going to be there. Can you host? So So you have that opportunity for brand love, right? People contacting you directly. How do you structure it so that it stays relevant to your overall objective?
Well, in a way, thanks to you, in a way, because when we started with the influencer marketing project 9 or 8 years ago, we were receiving a flood of requests, left, right, and center by different brands, by different stakeholders. And we decided to build our influencer marketing policy around Traackr. So when we found Traackr, we've built in a set of rules and regulations that are enforced to everyone working in the organization, whether it's a leader in a country, in a hotel, or in a zone, or globally. We apply this set of rules for the selection of influencers. So we've set KPIs for selection. We utilize all of the big data that Traackr gives us to make sure we are tapping into the right audiences, which is super important for us. Specifically, we have 3 tiers of brands: luxury, premium, and essential. So we need to make sure if we are working with luxury brand that it's over €1,000 a night, we are targeting an audience that can afford or can be relevant to those offerings. So all those rules, it's taken us a lot of time and sweat and tears, but I can say that whoever is not complying with the policy and not using Traackr, all that activity is not reported, so it's like it doesn't even exist. And the key has been to then be quite stringent in terms of choosing the type of profiles that match with the type of brands that we want them to work with. So if that influencer or that creator would go to a brand by himself, so if we let him choose the brand, he will choose the brand that we want him to work for, because they share the same values, the same qualities. If it's a millennial-led brand, they live that type of experience and they want that type of experience, which results in a lot more content being created. And then by following these rules, so honestly, we are maximizing our impact. Sometimes we do a lot of niche activities. It helps us a lot to get organic power. So for example, we've opened a brand with Rafael Nadal, the tennis player. So imagine having him creating content about our brand because he owns half of that brand. That gives us a maximum boosting in amplification, and we don't need to invest in paid. But sometimes we create niche stories, so stories about well-being, stories about running and fitness and yoga, which are going to a much smaller community. With paid, we boost that community, but what we want to create is that word of mouth for that content to then be transferred into new people wanting to consume that content. So at the end of the day, it's what I was saying, that we are tapping into passions of individuals that travel for a reason, and that is what is making us successful. No? Sometimes it's not everything is a macro, all these macro segmentations and huge, I want to engage with everyone that travels, is no longer valid. You're now segmenting into tribes and into much smaller segments, I think.
Yeah, it's super interesting to hear how you combine access to celebrities with the GOAT, Rafa Nadal, and smaller creators, but also how you have processes to structure that all across the hotels. Super interesting. Do we have time for Q&A maybe? Any question in the audience to our speakers? Yes? Where's the microphone?
Hi, I'm Melanie from Google. Thanks for this really interesting panel. I'm curious, you mentioned several times the way you are trying to measure influence, and we know it's not an easy task, and I would like you maybe to be a little more specific about which type of KPIs you are looking at when evaluating your different operations. Thank you.
Yeah, I can start. On our side, it really depends on which part of the funnel you want to work. For example, when we just talk inside Michelin about brand awareness, we will measure the reach, the engagement, sometimes the earned media value to have a kind of ROI for campaign in the upper part of the funnel. But as we are not directly selling the product, when we go down in the funnel, we are going to take care about the website traffic generation we have through the content creation, content creator content, sorry. It can be the number of lead generation we can have. And the more we work lower in the funnel, the more we are going to have a look on the qualitative impact on the audience. So I would say that at the consideration level, cost per engagement, etc. For me, it's okay. It will just be an indicator of cost efficiency of the campaign. But what I want to know is the impact on the audience, and do I am driving the willingness to pay? Do I am driving brand preference for the next moment they will buy tires? For me, you have to work on this way. Which KPI is adopted on the step on the funnel?
So. Ouais, tu m'entends? Ouais, on s'entend? So on my side, I think I agree with most of the KPIs that Geoffrey just mentioned. There is, of course, we use a lot the VIT KPI, that is our Traackr standard for influencer marketing. But as I told you, we have the 7 pillars of our advocacy strategy. So what we built with my team that is here is something called the advocacy score. That is based on a lot of criteria. So it's based on the reply rate that you have on your social owned. It's based on the reviews. It's based on the social listening part, qualitative and quantitative. It's based on the VIT. So we try to accumulate all together in one KPI, divided by market and divided by brand, in order to have a full vision in one single KPI. So we try to limit ourselves to one KPI, at least on the upper funnel. And then, of course, on the lower funnel, we have a lot of KPIs when it is the case. Sometimes you do activation and advocacy that are not directly linked to the e-commerce or to sales. So we use that kind of metrics. Then after that, we can open, let's say, a chapter. So we use our influencer marketing data also to do MMMs. So to discover ROIs, and this is the data that we use also from Traackr to go further and to build algorithms behind what we do.
From our end, more of the same. I mean, we're such a KPI-centric organization that anything and everything you want to think of, we measure. However, I'm going to give you 2 examples on how I think I truly believe, and our company knows that the model works. During the pandemic, and it's not a KPI specific, but during the pandemic, so the whole industry shut down, and we got an opportunity to host Chiara Ferragni, the Italian influencer, in one of our hotels in Rome. She's divorced. At the time, she went with her husband. Yeah, but she went with her husband. We opened a hotel, Grand Melia Rome, only for her. So she was the only guest at the hotel. Obviously, we went up and beyond. She had her own Michelin star chef cooking for her, a view of the Vatican, you name it. She was posting on social media, right? So we go to Google, you work for Google, and we look at traffic, so people looking for Grand Melia Rome in Google. Okay, she was posting on Instagram, but people looking at Grand Melia Rome in Google. And the increase was 1,500%. So audiences went crazy looking at what the hell is this hotel? Why is she there? So that proves that, and she was the only person staying there. So this is a true attribution model that I could prove that works. And the second one is beyond all those KPIs. Last year we've opened Zell, which is the Rafa Nadal's brand hotel in Costa Brava in the north of Catalonia, in a beautiful location. And we do this event with, obviously, Rafa Nadal, Marc Marquez, the motorcycle rider, Gasol, the basketball player. There was, a list of A+ celebrities, 50 media, creators, macro influencers, micro. We threw everything in, so we went full power with this event. The event was held on a Friday night. We showcased this event live on all social media on that weekend. So just, hours after that event finished, the hotel with the highest number of bookings in all of our network in Melia.com was Zell Costa Brava. So it had an immediate impact. And honestly, this is something that...
I like how you make attribution models easy.
But that's a direct attribution. And obviously, this is something that our CEO and our executive teams truly understand. And the problem is that now for every single event, they want Gasols, they want celebrities, they want influencers, they want all of this. But this power of amplification, for sure, it translates into booking. Sometimes immediate, but sometimes it will take 6 to 10 months.
Basically, what I think what you're saying is these are great examples where you can easily attribute bookings to an activity. And maybe the challenge now is, okay, beyond these fairly strong one-offs, how do you on an ongoing basis keep measuring that correlation between the content, the performance of the content, and the sellout? Do we have time for another question? No, we don't have time for another question.
Sorry, that was a long one.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for our great speakers.